Chapter 6 Detention. "Hey, cutie pie," was the first word spoken by the boy with the eyes as dark as the night sky. His hair is curly with the color of brown, slightly covered with a few golden strands. He looks almost like a sculpture of a Greek god in flesh and blood. That being said, while one of his hands is wrapped around Kirill's waist. They are now in gym class, and the gym outfit that they are wearing is thin. It is akin to being touched skin to skin. Kirill hates such harassment. This is not the first time that he is harassed like this. No matter how innocent it may look, Kirill knows the real intention of the boy only by simply listening to his flirty tone. Kirill turns to look at him slowly, anger accumulating deep in his veins. His eyes look at the boy sharply, as if at any moment he can shoot daggers at him. "Hands off," he instructed, articulating the words one by one slowly, with a threatening tone. The threat does not affect Andrei Theron at all. He instead begins to caress Kirill's waistline suggestively. Snap! The line that prohibits Kirill from entering the dark side is now broken. With the sound of that snap in his head, he launches his attack at the boy mercilessly. He grips on the boy's hand that was covering his waist and twists it behind the boy's back in a deadlock. The piercing scream coming from the boy's mouth reaches his ear and he chuckles to the reaction. "Cutie pie, huh? How about I turn you into an apple pie, bitch?" Kirill threatened again, but it was not an empty threat. He has every desire in him to beat the guy up into a pulp. Ouch! Stanley, help! Albert! Stefan, help! 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 The boy is now screaming for help towards his friends while experiencing shame mixed with intense muscle pain, but his friends are only laughing at him in response. "I told you not to touch him," Stepanov said, completely uncaring of the bullied look on his friend's face. That was the first time Kirill heard Stepan's voice. It was deep, but sweet at the same time. It also sounded stern, yet coquettish in its own way. It was hard for him to ignore the voice. It caught his attention, and his eyes immediately fall on him. He takes a closer look. Yesterday, he didn't get a close look at the boy, except for noticing perhaps only his eyes. Only now he realizes that Stepanov Chenkov is very eye-catching in all aspects. He can be considered beautiful, but not the feminine kind of beauty. He has a deep piercing green eyes in the shape of almond. They are slightly curved when he smiles, with hooded eyelids. There's a mole under his left eye. He has fair skin that is a bit tan. His hair is fine, which is dark blonde in color, and it is styled in a quiff haircut. He has full lips that are naturally rosy in color, and currently crooked in a smile. Kirill is momentarily mesmerized by looking close up at that face alone. But it was only temporary, since he suddenly heard his name being shouted in the hall. "Kirill Miyamoto, let him go now!" The gym teacher rushes over towards them after realizing the commotion. Shit, Kirill thought. Before letting his harasser go, he twists the boy's hands with a few more force to inflict more pain just for the heck of it. Hearing the boy's screams louder leaves him feeling quite satisfied, and he smiles devilishly to himself, forming two prominent dimples on both of his cheeks. That smile was noticed by Stepanov. His heart was like shot by 10 arrows of the Cupid. It is dangerous for him to see Kirill up close. It was like approaching a beautiful, poisonous flower. "Fucking bastard," Kirill muttered a curse under his breath while Andrei is being helped by his friends up to his feet. He was crying crocodile tears all the while in front of the teacher while begging his friends to take him to see a doctor for fear of his hand being broken. This guy should act in a fucking soap opera, Kirill thought silently to himself. The gym teacher looks at Kirill furiously before reminding him, "Language, Mr. Miyamoto." Kirill looks at him a little indifferently, but still nods his head towards him as if to acknowledge his own mistake. Deep inside, he doesn't feel guilty, but he doesn't want to cause trouble here at a new school in a foreign country, since he needs to be here. He needs to be here to find Clement. Detention after school, Mr. Miyamoto, he was ordered, but he is somewhat unfazed by that, since even back in New Japan, detention is like his second home. It's just that the methods might be different, but it's still detention nonetheless. Teacher, Stepanov suddenly called out. Yes? The gym teacher turns to look at him. I also want to be in detention today. Stepanov spoke words that caused an uproar among other students in the basketball court. But oddly, no matter how absurd it is for a student to suddenly ask to be placed in detention, the teacher just nods his head at him without saying a word, and no one else even ridicules or questions his choice. At that fact alone, Kirill just realizes that he might already cause the trouble, and he is in deep trouble because now he notices it, the fear in other people's eyes when they look at that smiling boy with his almond-shaped eyes beautifully curved. Chapter 7. Traces of the day he was last seen. His plan had to be slightly shifted in terms of time due to detention. School ended at 3 p.m., but detention ends at 4:30 p.m. As soon as it ended, Kirill gets out of the school compound without changing his clothes. The curfew that the dorm set for all students is to return before 10 p.m., so he has plenty of time to trail back the trace of the last day his twin brother was last seen. According to the investigation reported by his PI, right after school ended that day, Clement walked with Stepanov, Andrei, Alberto, and Stanley to the library. Stanley and Alberto left early and went home. Clement, Stepanov, and Andrei left library at 6:30 p.m. Two students at the library confirm of this timeline. Their last meeting point was at the bridge that separated the route between Stepanov and Andrei's house to Clement's house. Andrei went home first, leaving only Stepanov and Clement alone to smoke cigarettes together at the bridge. According to Stepanov, he smoked and talked with Clement at the bridge for about another 15 minutes before they separated. According to Andrei, he saw Stepan reach his home around 25 minutes after they separated. That was the last time he was seen. If Andrei lied, Stepanov might never got home within that time, and God knows where he went or what he did. If both Stepanov and Andrei lied, they might not even separate at the bridge at all. From 6:30 p.m. all the way to 8 p.m. within this frame of time, anything can happen. They can be anywhere, and they could have done anything to Clement. And one more thing, let's say if the two students at the library lied about seeing them leaving the library at 6:30 p.m., things could have been even more twisted, right? What Kirill was certain is that Clement was attacked and murdered at exactly 8 p.m. This is the only information that no one can get. Not his PI and not even the police. This is only known by Kirill. They say twins are connected in the most complicated ways. Since Krasniy is located near Zabaikalis, which is at the border of China and New Russia, the town shares the same time zone with Tokyo in New Japan. Back then, at the same time when Clement was attacked, he also felt the invisible grip around his neck. He was suffocated, and he can feel the snap of the bones in the neck, but it was all sensory. He is still alive and breathing when it was over. He remembered crying his eyes out as he screams out Clement's name, knowing deep inside that on the other side of the world, Clement was no more. Normal people would have cried by now just by reminiscing the event, but Kirill is not normal, so there's no sadness on his face nor tears. There's just pure determination. He turns around to face head-on the guy who had been following him all along as he tries to retrace the steps of Clement's last day. Unexpectedly, the person who was claimed to be the last one to have seen Clement is also on the same path as him. "Are you following me?" Kirill asked straightforwardly to the taller boy. The boy only smiles at him. Kirill can still feel some sort of danger behind the smile, but is starting to get used to it. He no longer feels intimidated. "Is that a crime?" Stepanov asks in return. "I don't know, you tell me," Kirill provoked. Stepanov chuckles in response to the provocation. like a cat. He thought to himself, "Unfortunately, I'm a wolf." "We haven't properly introduced ourselves yet," he said. "I'm Stepanov Chenkov. You can call me Stepan or Handsome or Baby, whichever that suits you best." Stepan flirted in his introduction, and he offered his hand out for a handshake towards Kirill. Surprisingly, Kirill accepted his hand and gives him a proper 2 seconds of handshake before letting it go. "Fuck with social distancing at this point. You can call me Kirill," he simply said, completely dismissing Stepan's effort at flirting. He wanted to outdo that flirty mouth of Stepan at first, but he is just too tired to do so. Sometimes the best way to deal with people like Stepan is to not react at all. So he turns back towards where he was going while ushering Stepan to walk by his side. This act, somehow, is like a 360-degree turn for Stepan. It left him feeling uncomfortable now, and that is the first time ever. This is the first time someone makes him feel uncomfortable and intimidated. So, I want to hear from your own point of view of what happened on the day my brother disappeared. Kirill begins to speak. This is an opportunity not to be missed. You were the last person to have seen him, right? Tell me all about it, Kirill instructed. In the spur of the moment, he decided to just face the son of a bitch head-on with a torpedo.